What's going on with Shiba Inu, guys? SHIB coin, SHIB token. So there were some interesting things that happened last night, and just want to share my thoughts on this because a lot of people have been following some of the past videos, and some might understand what I'm trying to say, others completely ignore it. But in the sense, at least for currently short term, I'd say it's sort of positive, neutral news. But in terms of the long term, that's something that you definitely have to look into. So, looking at the current price right now, let's see, it's 0.00001602. This time they actually have verified, it seems like, the actual circulating supply. So you can see they have the blue check mark here, and you can basically see that that looks like 394, and if I'm correct, that looks like trillion. I'm not sure why it has 00B by next to it, but if you read it, so we can see it's basically 394 trill 796 bill tokens, aka circulating supply, right? So in terms of that supply, that's just absolutely insane, right? I haven't really seen any cryptocurrencies with a supply that big, but interesting, right? So that's good to see that the supply has been verified. Now let's just look really quick some stats. Market cap 6.3 bill, ranked 27, so it dropped significantly in the past week. And volume so far it's fairly low. It's even lower than before at 4.4 bill. So in terms of what's going on with SHIB, I mean, not too much, but there was some interesting stuff with Vitalik, which I want to show you guys. And just remember, guys, this video is my own opinion. This is for entertainment purposes only. This is not financial advice. Be sure you're research before making any investments. But if you guys seen my previous videos, you already know my thoughts on SHIB as a actual coin. But in terms of this stuff that happened recently, I think it's really interesting. So check this out, right? So if you guys seen it, you probably already know, but definitely stay tuned because I'm gonna show you guys some interesting stuff that you probably haven't noticed that you definitely want to consider, right? So first off, fun fact, this happened, last night, I'm pretty sure, and he burned apparently 6.74 billion in Shiba Inu. And what does that mean, right? First off, it's for actual holders. I'd say it's a positive in hindsight, but future, long term, it doesn't really affect, I'd say, much because regardless, there's still a ridiculous amount of Shiba tokens, right? But basically, if you guys, fun fact, okay, so if you don't remember or don't know, they sent him 50% right of SHIB. He donated 5%, at least to my knowledge, to the charity, and then apparently he kept another 5, and then he burned, I think, 90% of what he had, right? So pretty much you can see here he burned apparently 410 trillion Shiba Inu tokens worth 6.7 bill. So in the short term, basically that decreases the aka supply, which in turn that would essentially make it more scarce, and based off of just that would potentially cause a price to either increase, assuming the demand increases because there's less coins. But in general, there's so many coins that I don't think it's gonna matter too much. Like for instance, Bitcoin has only like 21 mil, I believe, supply, like if we can just confirm. So it's like 21 mil if you click on that. Or right now, even the circulating supply, it's not even 21, it's 18.7 mil. So that's different from a billion and let alone a trillion plus, right? So just keep that in mind. That is still good, but it's not it's not super crazy, right? Because if it was burned to, like, let's say they only had 10 million tokens, then yeah, that's a completely different story. That's like super scarce. But here there's still multi-trillions tokens left apparently. So that's just something to keep in mind, because a lot of people say, oh, he burned them, and then that's good news. But again, there's still so much that it doesn't really change too much in the grand scheme of things, right? But there's some interesting things I got from this, right? So basically, if you look at it, and again, people are saying, oh, he donated, that's a good thing, which is great. Yes, he donated, that's perfect. But you forget is if for instance, the fund that received a billion SHIB, if you expect them to just hold the SHIB forever, like I highly doubt that's gonna happen. Especially when their whole entire purpose is to literally receive money to send out and research and and hire people and do a bunch of things, right? So in terms of that case, if they supposedly have a billion, I'm pretty sure it's not as worth a billion right now because price has dropped. But once they start to liquidate that, then guess what? Then the price is most likely going to take a dip, I say, in the short term. Two is if Vitalik still has a small portion that he's going to donate again to another charity, charities, they're not going to hold this for, 10, 20 years. Doesn't make any sense. They're going to spend that too, aka they're going to liquidate it. So at that point, it's basically, I think, up to retail and any whales, I guess, or any early movers who got in SHIB early pretty much control what happens. But again, guys, my thoughts on the actual coin you've heard multiple times. I'm not going to spend too much on that. But here, it's just pretty much been selling off for the most part, right? So one thing to consider is, yes, he did burn his tokens. And yes, that's better than Vitalik just holding like 45% of SHIB and just he could literally dump it or donate it all to charity. That would not be good. But since he didn't do that, I think that's better in terms of people holding. But we can see this person actually said something, or he quoted what Vitalik said. So let's just really quick, let's see what he said, right? So he decided to burn 90% of the SHIB tokens, 10% will be sent to pretty much a charity. And then pretty much looking at the next paragraphs, he said it's not smart to hold it in the wallet because of security. Because if you guys aren't familiar, like the amount of people who've been hacked, or the ones who actually have massive amounts of money in wallets that they attempt to hack on a daily basis, it's ridiculous, right? Now, I can go in a whole nother video on this stuff, but just know there's teams, whole entire companies, I'm sure, underground that their whole job is to figure out how to hack into these mega like wallets, right? So definitely that's not smart to have that. So that's a good reason. Two is he says he's impressed by the dog community. So shout out to the dog communities. It's just interesting. It brings in new sites on crypto, but also I think what happens, it also causes a negative site where or a negative impression where a bunch of other people try to copy this similar stuff, and then they just basically make like useless coins that are just be wasting people's money, right? But that's for another video. And pretty much he says again, he's like, do not give me your coins or power in your project without his consent, because there's a lot of people who did it, and I think it's smart that he did it with SHIB, because I know there's other projects I think that sent Vitalik some coins to use that as like their marketing and be like, hey, look, he owns it, he's not gonna dump on you guys. But I think he pretty much used SHIB as the example, and if he didn't do anything and people kept building all these new coins and sending him all this money, that would have caused crazier problems in the future. But that's something interesting to see. So I think it's good he didn't, just dump, and give away a bunch of his stuff, which is a good sign for people holding, but that's just short-term stuff, right? Again, in the long term, I think people need to understand, because I've seen some crazy videos lately, and I don't think people really understand mathematical formulas on how you calculate market caps and prices, right? So I've seen, I don't even have to click on these videos, but I've seen people say 1 cent, I've seen $1. The chances of this hitting 1 cent, right, I just don't see that ever even happening, even close to happening 1 cent, because you need to consider something. I'll just show you guys really quick. If you look at, for instance, like Dogecoin, right? Dogecoin's been out since what, 2013. It's the OG. It's literally been out forever. Its market cap at its peak was what, like 80, 90 bill. But let's just say today it's like 60 something bill. That is significantly higher than, if you're looking back at SHIB, what its current price is. Because Dogecoin, it was like 0.002 at some time. This one's 0.0000. Then 1.6 plus the circulating supply here. It's literally, look at that supply, right? It's literally $394 trillion. So if you were to multiply this, now I'll just bring this up really quick. So check this out. If you take, so that's billion, right? I put billion because I didn't realize it was trillion. So if you take 394, and then let's see what exactly was the supply. 394. However, this 796. All right, so 394. 796, and then let's go 1 2 3 1 2 3, and then 1 2 3. So now we can see, okay, we got the hundreds, 100,000, 100 million, 796 bill, 394 trill, and then you times this by 0.01, hit enter, and you get a number so big that it literally doesn't even show me the number. But just know this is literally a humongous number, and it just doesn't make any sense, because that market cap would be astronomical. Like this would be like the #1 cryptocurrency if that were the case, right? So I think a lot of people who are making content saying this, again, they're just doing it for content's sake, and they're not really showing you like realistic what's actually possible. Now, again, on my expectation of SHIB, I don't think it's, smart. Again, I told you it's like a casino. You're gambling. So if you're comfortable with that, it's a 50-50. You're either going to lose money or win it, then so be it. But for people who think this is like, you're going to make like ridiculous gains and it's going to be the next Dogecoin, I mean, only time will tell based off of what I've seen. It's only surviving because this is like a new space and everybody's just getting back in the crypto hype. But I mean, if you guys don't realize, the market's been tanking. Bitcoin's dropping fast. So if this whole market does not maintain its position and this starts to essentially, if we hit the top of the market, it just starts dumping and Bitcoin drops to maybe 30, 20K. This SHIB, all these other random dog meme coins that just came out of nowhere, they're not going to survive. So just keep that in mind, guys. So definitely that's something you want to look into. And then I'll leave it off with this. This is why I think people are following, because they see articles or they see people who put in, a couple $1,000, now they're multimillionaires. And even this says it's a parody cryptocurrency. And apparently they made over 9 mil, right? But apparently these guys got in early, right? This isn't like they just got in like last week. Like these you can only make these type of returns if you're like literally the first, right? So that's something that I think people need to consider, because everyone wants to be this guy. Like they want to be the guy who put in $1,000, made $1 million. But the chance of that happening after you found out about this all over social media and news, it's very slim in the short term. Yes, in a couple years from now, sure, people who bought Doge, literally this like the end of this year, even last year, they made a significant gain. But again, they were still technically first before the hype, right? So if you look at it in general, just what happened to the charts, again, guys, I think it's a dangerous play. That's my own opinion. But if you're comfortable putting in what you're comfortable losing, then that's your call. You can make some money in the short term, but mainly the people who got in here, those ones who made the most. People, once they see this massive increase, they start to FOMO. They think that, it's going to bounce back up to here. But you got to consider like the actual catalyst before this happened, before this giant price drop that will cause this run up in the first place, right? Because aka Doge took off and people wanted to move to another Doge, aka this was one of them. So if Doge is not going crazy, this coin, I don't see how it's just going to go crazy by itself. There's nothing really behind it anymore, or really any technology. So it's literally people just talking about it. And if some crazy rumor comes out that someone's going to use it, then that's probably it. Aside from that, there's really not much, I'd say, sustaining its levels. But again, I just like to make these videos so you guys have a different opinion and don't just look at everything like it's going to the moon, it's going crazy. So yeah, that's all my thoughts are on it today. But do let me know your thoughts. Do you think there's something else around SHIB that I just didn't notice that I'm completely not looking at? And aside from that, guys, be sure to subscribe for more updates on the markets. Like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.